Summer is coming up right around the corner. If you have 30 plus pounds to lose, you might be feeling like it's too late, but I promise you it's not. I literally have a client, I'll try to show you his weight loss graph here, that lost 30 pounds in the month of February. It's because he had a lot of weight to lose, and so that is the point of this video. If you have a lot of weight to lose, you can lose a shocking amount of weight in just 1 month. I'm about to lay out the perfect 7-step plan for you to lose a lot of weight before summer so you can feel confident in your skin and go do whatever summer things you want to do. I've been a trainer for 10 years. I've helped hundreds of people lose a lot of weight. I've undergone my own transformation. So I really know what I'm doing when it comes to weight loss and how to stay motivated. I also know what it feels like to struggle through that. So I can sympathize with you here. And I think that's actually going to help you a lot more. So for me, saving my calories never really worked. So intermittent fasting wasn't something that I really grabbed onto, but I have developed a sort of hybrid intermittent fasting. I haven't heard anyone else talk about this. Maybe you've heard it before. Please let me know in the comments. I swear I'm not trying to steal this from somebody, but it's kind of a hybrid where the morning is almost a pure protein source, but very low calorie. It has to be pure protein in order to keep the calories down. So it could be something like a protein shake, but I'm big on actually cutting out liquid calories. We're going to talk about that in this video, actually. So I prefer it to be like a protein bar that is actually a protein bar, not a candy bar that has high protein. So it needs somewhere around, 20 grams of protein and 200 calories. So about 10% of the calories being in grams of protein. So, if it is like a 300 calorie bar, it better have 30 grams of protein. That's kind of how I see it with the protein bar. So you could just go get a protein bar. The ones that I have that I really like are pure protein bars. I get them from Costco and get them in bulk. So they're a little bit more affordable. But another thing that you could do is like eggs and egg whites. So you could use, 2 eggs and the rest egg whites to get your protein really high, some really low fat or fat-free cheese, and then you have a morning breakfast thing that gets you the muscle protein. Here's the key. It gets you the muscle protein synthesis of eating and gets you, you don't have to wait all the way until lunch, but it saves you the calories from intermittent fasting. Because intermittent fasting, the power of intermittent fasting isn't in the fast itself. There's nothing magical about it. People love to act like there is, but there just isn't. The thing that really is going to help you is that it narrows your eating window, and so therefore you, in theory, eat less calories. But you're also missing out on the muscle protein synthesis and keeping your muscle and building muscle, increasing your basal metabolic rate, and all these good things happen with weight loss whenever you eat more frequently. Up to 6 times a day, I think 6 times a day is where the research shows, where anything past that isn't really helpful. 4 times seems to be a real sweet spot. So I have a really small meal in the morning that is almost pure protein, followed by my regular, day, which is going to be like a snack, lunch, and dinner, or sometimes it's lunch, dinner, and then a snack if, for whatever reason, if I have ice cream or something that night, protein ice cream. But that is kind of how I lay out my day. And I've never heard people talk about that. So I hope that tip really helps you. This next tip I'm calling the iPhone of fat loss. Hear me out. Apple introduced the iPhone and it transformed the company. It was their staple. It was the thing that really took them to the next level and is still obviously the staple of the company. It's reliable, it's user-friendly, and it's just the go-to phone for most of the people in the United States. If you use Android, then I'm sorry, I don't know if I can help you. Just like the iPhone is what propelled Apple into, what they are today, your go-to high protein meals are what is going to propel you into being able to really control your diet and stay on track. Protein is literally the essential building blocks that are required for muscle, so you obviously need it for muscle, but it also keeps you full, helps you lower your calories because you're eating less, and keeps you energized and not feeling like you're suffering as you make it to, if you use that intermittent fasting point, as you make it to lunch. It's not like you ate a bowl of oatmeal and, nothing's wrong with oatmeal, but you might feel hungry again at 10. Whereas if you eat a very high protein meal, you're going to feel hungry again at lunch, which is going to help you reduce your calories. Now, something that you might be thinking is, how am I able to eat this high protein? I've always struggled with my protein intake. I got you. Okay, so if you only eat from my cookbook, it is totally free. Link in the description, pinned comment. It gives you serving sizes. So I'm not a chef or anything, so they're not, super difficult meals. There's protein mac and cheese is one of the go-to things in there that people really like, but there's also like white chicken chili and things like that. So when you make these and you're able to pull them out of the fridge, eat that only from my cookbook for lunch and dinner. The serving sizes are in there, so you could literally plug it into MyFitnessPal super easily. But even if you're not tracking your calories, you can keep track of your calories kind of in your head because it's all in the cookbook. It's very easy. And then for breakfast and snacks, single ingredient foods. So that's like eggs with cheese. That's the omelet that I said earlier. That is blueberries or an apple or a protein bar. whatever, something that you can just easily say, this has 200 calories, or this, 80 grams of blueberries has however many calories MyFitnessPal says it has. So single ingredient foods will naturally keep you more full. Everyone knows that, eating more whole foods keeps you more full and helps you to lose weight. So that's that portion of it, the breakfast and the snacks. And then if you eat from my protein recipe book, you're going to be full. You're going to be eating shockingly few calories for how full you are. It's a game changer. You're going to love it. So step 3, I'm calling the Spider-Man effect. Your goal here is to build a superhero physique and not a sidekick physique. And what do I mean by that? As you go into your weight loss journey, if you are focused solely on fat loss and weight loss, and that is it, obviously we want to lose fat, but if you're focused solely on weight loss, a lot of fat is going to come off, but also a lot of muscle. Losing weight without keeping your muscle, or possibly even building muscle and making it easier to lose weight in the future, is kind of like Spider-Man without a suit. Sure, he's cool, but it's just, he doesn't have that Spider-Man energy, Now I'm not a huge Superman fan, superhero fan, as you can tell, as I'm even fumbling with the words on superheroes, but it just, that analogy makes so much sense, where they're still cool. Weight loss is awesome. Okay. If you have already been through your journey and you've lost a lot of weight and you haven't been weightlifting, don't worry. You can gain that back. I just want to encourage you with that. But at the same time, you are going to have a superhero physique instead of a sidekick physique, which I know is corny, but man, it's so true. You're going to have shape. You're going to have fullness. That's what makes a superhero look like a superhero. Um, so by weightlifting, resistance training, and anytime I talk about resistance training, I always stand in front of these rings. I have these hung up here from a pull-up bar. You can see it in the last shots or whatever from a wider angle. But you can hang these from like a beam in your basement or whatever. And it is a way that you can work out from home. And I'm going to do in the future, especially if you guys are interested, let me know if you're like, I want to see more of that. I'm going to do actual workout videos, maybe not like a follow along, but like showing you, hey, this is the routine that I would follow for your upper body using just rings or whatever. That way you can work out from home. You can feel confident, not feel like you're going to the gym, maybe being embarrassed. I know a lot of people that are heavy struggle with that. I personally have struggled with that in the past. That's what this channel is all about, is I've been where you're at. I've lost a lot of weight. My clients lose a lot of weight. I focus on people that have a lot of weight to lose, not something like 10 pounds, but 30 at least plus. So resistance training is going to give you that shape and that confidence. You're going to feel good in your clothes. You're not going to feel skinny fat. By the end, the thing that I hate for people is they've lost the weight, and then I still hear in their voice they hate their body still, just in a new way. You don't have to feel like that. And it really is, it comes down to resistance training. So step 4 is weight loss like a survivor. You guys remember the show Survivor? I think it's still running, and that's ridiculous. I haven't watched it in many, many years. But on that show, they competed in order to, accomplish things that were like survival type challenges and stuff like that. Having enough food, finding clothing, building shelter. But then there was also games and stuff like that. It could have changed by now, but at least back in the day, that's what it was. On that show, a big key to winning was outlasting your opponent. It was being smarter, and not just, I remember that the most fit people at the beginning, they would make a point of this. I don't know if it was rigged or whatever, but they would make a point that they would try to show the most fit people. And sometimes those people would do really well, but a lot of times they wouldn't. It was the people with the smart approach to the game that actually ended up winning, because there was a lot of what do you call it? Bureaucracy, politics as well, where they would, vote each other off the island and everything. If they did too much too fast, betrayed too many people, whatever, they would end up getting voted off. So how does this relate to your fat loss? Start with a reasonable, this is going to be about steps. Start with a reasonable goal. Let's say it's 8,000. You want to walk 8,000 steps a day. Now we're trying to lose weight quickly. At the end, I'm going to kind of tell you like, hey, how to transition out of this quick weight loss, because you're going to need that, or you're going to end up gaining the weight back. So don't worry, I got you on that. But for now, pick like 8,000 steps or 6,000, whatever it is for you, and then add 1,000 every single week until you can't really sustain it anymore. So let's say you get all the way up to 14,000 per day. You might be like, dude, this is not doable. I can't do that again. Then, okay, lower it back down to 13. And you're like, this is still not doing. Lower it back down to 12. And you found your sweet spot, 12. You are now, I'm making all this up. Fill in your numbers, whatever ends up happening with you. And I coach my clients through this if you need help. But your goal is to find that point where you're burning the maximum amount of calories from your daily movement without exercise being added to it. It gives you the best possible setup. If you combine this with the protein stuff and the intermittent fasting stuff, it gives you the best possible setup to lose a lot of weight and not feel like you're suffering, because here's the kicker. You get to eat all that back. Now, not all of it. We obviously want to create that deficit through our steps, but I find that my clients who get to eat more and burn more and therefore lose the same amount as someone who's eating way less, I find that they win long term. Okay, another really big one that I am big on my clients with is cutting out the liquid calories. If it's a problem, if I notice it's not a problem, then I just kind of let them do what they want. So mindless consuming of liquid calories, and especially if you don't log it. This is things like adding creamer to your coffee without counting it. It's stuff like protein shakes. Even if it tends to be a really high, you add protein and a bunch of fruit and a bunch of milk, and it ends up being a 500 calorie shake, that's going to leave you feeling hungry. So stick to water, black coffee, and if you can't do black coffee, try the sugar-free versions of the creamers and everything. Work your way to those, slowly. I had 3 creamers, and then after the next week I had 2 creamers, and I promise you will adapt to black coffee. And to me, it's quite enjoyable. And then diet soda, those ice drinks and everything they're low calorie. I think, what is that company that makes the energy drink? There's lots of 10 calorie or less energy drinks. I just count those as zero unless you like don't consume them a bunch. You'd probably have problems because it's an energy drink. But those things are going to be what really gets you feeling full and feeling satisfied, get your sweet tooth a little satisfied without doing any damage to your weight loss. Do you remember the whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard debacle? And then that reminded, while I was writing this actually for this script, that reminded me of Jack Sparrow. And I was shocked at how familiar Jack Sparrow, the character, is with Johnny Depp. The lesson here, and I know this is kind of like goofy, is expect setbacks. Jack Sparrow throughout Pirates of the Caribbean is one of my favorite movies. I hope Johnny Depp comes back for number 6, regardless of how you feel. I don't think it's going to happen because I just miss those movies so much. Regardless of how you feel about that whole situation and who was right, who was wrong, I just miss the movies. And he was quite entertaining. And Jack Sparrow, and then Johnny Depp with this whole thing with Amber Heard, like these were setbacks. Jack Sparrow consistently something always went wrong. It always went wrong, and it was almost like he was just willing to adapt to it and just willing to go. You know how he walks around with his. That's what I was trying to do there. I'm not very good at acting, but Johnny Depp, he had one of the most successful careers as an actor, and he had this major setback. Whether it was his fault or not, I'm sure there was a lot to blame on his side as well. It takes 2 to tango. But anyways, I shouldn't even be talking about that. The point here is that expect setbacks. They're literally going to happen. I promise you. I'm not saying like, hey, they might happen and be ready for it. I'm saying put it in your plan. It is going to happen. You're going to get injured. You're going to get sick. You're going to go on a vacation. You're going to have a birthday that you're not even thinking about right now. Oh my gosh, there's 3 birthdays in that month. What am I going to do? Expect that there might be months where you're just kind of slow. Now, on this process leading up to summer, maybe you really try to hone in and try to avoid those, but especially after that, you're going to need to expect setbacks. And if you just treat it as part of, okay, well, this month, around the holidays, I'm not going to lose a whole lot of weight, maybe any. And then you pick right back up where you left off, that is going to make a world of difference. But leading up to summer, expect that something might happen. Don't let it throw you off. Like Jack Sparrow, just go with the flow and get back to it. Because I promise, it didn't matter for Jack, and it's not going to matter for you. Next is going to be sleep. It is probably the least talked about and the most important thing you can do for your fat loss progress. If you've never done deficit push-ups with these things, they're cheap. You might not be ready for that, but it is awesome. I mean, I get more sore from these than in the gym any day. But 7 to 8 hours a night is what I would recommend. If you're not able to get that, don't worry. Do your best. Take actual care and discipline. I think this is where it requires the most discipline. Get off your phone, to use blue light blocking or whatever, red light. Yeah, blue light blocking glasses. To wind down, not get all amped up on social media with all the crap that's out there. And to let yourself actually get to bed at a good time. Going to give you the ability the next day to make better decisions. Temptations and cravings are a lot higher whenever a person is low on rest. It's a lot easier to give into them as well, so there's more of them, but you're also not as capable of fighting them off whenever you are low on rest. So get enough sleep. Start making this a priority. The cool thing that I encourage some of my clients with is like, sleep is enjoyable typically for people. So this is something that's like super easy to do. Now I know it requires discipline, but it's super easy in terms of, I'm not asking you to go to the gym and do a HIIT workout, for 30 minutes. It's going to hurt your joints. You're laying in bed. So take advantage of the fact that this is one of the easiest things you can do Again, I know there's a discipline side of it, but it's one of the easiest things you can do to impact your fat loss, and it really will work. It's almost like a supplement you start taking. If you start taking a supplement and you're like, man, this is a fat loss supplement, I bet it's going to work, and I've heard great reviews about it. You start acting the part, even if it's placebo, even if it's in your head. If you start acting the part, you will succeed. Treat sleep like that. I'm sleeping and therefore I'm going to succeed here. I'm working on my sleep. This is something you probably haven't really focused on before. So this is going to be your superpower. Not to mention it's going to help you keep your muscle. And that is just so important. So quick disclaimer here. This is only a system. If you're trying to lose this much weight, like before summer, it's really only possible if you have a lot of weight to lose. So if you are, this isn't really sustainable. I guess you could do it if you don't have a lot of weight to lose. You might lose a little bit of muscle. But the point is that it's not really sustainable. You have to ease out of it. And so the last thing I'm going to say, this isn't really a point of the video. This is, tip 8 or whatever. Add 100 calories in per week at the end of this fat loss phase, and let it be a phase. Don't continue this straight through up until the holidays, or you will crash and burn, and then you'll go right back up. So get to summer, lose the 30 pounds, start adding in 100 calories. You're going to continue losing because you're going to be in a deficit still. And then eventually you'll find that your weight goes a little bit up and then it's flat. That is a big win. Keep that win. You can pick it right back up after summer, going into the holidays, then take another break into the holidays. And where will you be if you're 60 pounds down this year because you took 2 phases of hitting it really hard? I mean, that is just so cool. And you don't have to lose 60 pounds. You could lose 15 and 15. You could lose 30 and 10. And this is really a game changer whenever you start to appreciate the breaks in between diets. Instead of thinking one diet gets me to where I need to be and that's it, start thinking of them as multiple diets that get you to where you need to be. And I'm telling you, one of the best, I didn't plan on saying this, one of the best analogies I've ever heard. If you and I were driving to California from the East Coast, we'll say, I don't know. And we're driving really far. I drive 60 miles an hour or 70, whatever the speed limit is on the highway, and you drive 120. Who's going to reach there first? A lot of, it's funny. Some of my clients, whenever I'm introducing this idea to them, are like, well, I would 120 miles an hour. I would get there first. No, you wouldn't. I would, because you'd either be arrested or you'd crash and burn. And that's kind of what fast weight loss is without a good transition, without planning that in. Just be smart. The survivor method, like we talked about earlier, be smart about this. You're going to make it so much faster if you go 60 to 70 miles an hour than if you try to race there and end up crashing your car or getting arrested, okay? So stay on your goals. You got this. If you want to know exactly how many calories you should be eating to succeed, watch this video next. That's going to tell you kind of how to judge your calories, and that's going to get you to your next goal. See you in the next one.